The Prince of Persia franchise on the Steam Deck. We got it Prince of Persia The Sands of Time, War Within, The Two Thrones, Prince of Persia 2008, The Forgotten Sands, and the new ones are The Lost Crown and The Rogue Prince of Persia. This one is early access, but it's the only one that's verified. The other ones are marked either as playable or unsupported. But some of them, like the first three games, need widescreen fixes, so I'm going to teach you how to install all of that right away. Same with Gamepad support, so let's get into them right away. All the links for the mods are in the description, but for the widescreen fixes from the official source, it doesn't have updated certificates, I think. So maybe when you open this, it'll jump with this message. So it's pretty simple. Go to advanced and proceed to ps2y.net and save. It'll say not found. So what you need to do is in the remove the S from HTTP. Hit enter and you'll be in the website. Sorry about this. I don't know what happened. In the past, this was an issue. So I'll probably just send a ticket to tell him to update the certificates. So here's for the Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and the Two Thrones. So let's download all of them. Once you download all of them, in this case for the game that you want to use, go to Downloads on Dolphin, and you have Pop 1 widescreen, 2 and 3. In our case, you need to do the same thing for each of them. So extract here out of the text subfolder, so they are separated nicely into folders. Let's start with Sands of Time. We extract this here. And you'll get pop.ini, d3d9, pop1w.dll. So we're going to open pop.ini. And here you can put the resolution that you want. In our case, we want 1280 by 800, but if you want to do super sampling, you can do 1920 by 1200. Xbox FOV, yes. Cutscenes, black borders, no. And you can increase the FOV, change the position of the HUD. I'll keep it like this because I want the best battery life as well, but keep in mind you can super sample with this if you wanted to. We hit on save. And we do the same things with the other two. So pop 2, extract it. In this case it has a password. I think the password is pop 2. Same thing with the third one. Extract here. And you get those files. So now it's just a matter of going into each of them and do the same as in Sands of Time. We want 800p, FOV Xbox One, the FOV to match the Xbox version. So we did that in 2. Let's do it in 3. 800p, Xbox FOV 1, save. And now what we need to do, apart from grabbing those files into the game's folders, copy this launch command, WINEDLL overrides, and all this. This is for the mods to actually work. So open Steam, in Sands of Time, hit Properties, and paste that command. Do the same thing for Warrior Within and the Two Thrones. So once that's done for the 3 games, you have the command. Let's copy the files over. Go to Sands of Time, Manage, Browse Local Files. You'll open the games folder and then go to downloads, and inside pop 1 widescreen, copy everything excepting the 7zip file. It's not a problem, but just a note. So you paste it and you have d3d9, pop.ini with the resolution thing, all that. And now you need to do exactly the same thing for the Warrior Within and for the Two Thrones. And now we can go into gaming mode, and on this part we should be done. Alright, we're now back into gaming mode, and this is something that we need for all games, proper controller support. So enter to the Sands of Time, go to this controller at the right, and here make sure you go into templates, gamepad with mouse trackpad, hit X to apply this layout, and inside the layout hit edit layout, go to the trackpads and make sure that the click on the right trackpad is as mouse, And in mouse, left click mouse, because many of these games, since are old, need a mouse to traverse through the menus, so we need the left mouse click. And now we do the exact same thing, but for Warrior Within and the Two Thrones. Okay, so now we should have that ready. And one more thing, for the older games, go to Properties, Compatibility, and in my case, I'm using the latest GE Proton. There's a link in the description on how to get it. If you don't have GE Proton, you can use Experimental or any of these. This is just to have the cutscenes work properly. So for the 3 games, do this. For the first 3 games, Sands of Time, War Within, and the Two Thrones. So now that those 3 are set up, let's go into them and play the games. Okay, so once you launch Sands of Time, we'll have our cursor and all that. Steam key X, type your name, the first challenger from the past. Okay, once you do so, go with the trackpad to create, go to Options, Graphics, it's at 800p on the highest settings, so everything's working properly. Then you see this black stuff at the left, because this game wasn't meant to have this part of the screen visible. Here, the important part, controls. Controls, you need to map the gamepad manually, so hit on gamepad, and let's map it to the PlayStation 2 controls. So double click there, forwards and backwards, left and right. Jump will be A. Sword attack should be X. Special action, I think, would be... Special action, I think, is triangle. Or Y. Use dagger, I think, would be B. Cancel. Let's not use that. Rewind. Rewind will be the left bumper. Camera lock. Camera look. Lock. I cannot read that. Alternate view, let's skip that. Reset camera, I like using R3. Then camera forward, backward, left and right. We map it to the stick. And that should be all you need to do. We'll see if we can pause the game somehow. Hopefully we can. And once that's done, go back, hit yes. And the menus will always be controlled with mouse and keyboard. So let's start a new game. One thing that I cannot do is pause the game, so in controller settings for this game, edit layout. And when it comes to buttons, when it comes to back grips, let's map one of them to escape. So that escape key will allow us to pause the game. So that's important. And in controls, I messed something up. So what I messed up is special action. This is all wall running, so left bumper. I'll remap it to Y. But if I'm missing any option, let's put cancel as B. But if there is any changes you guys recommend, please let me know to match the PS2 controls as best as we can. But again, we mapped one of the back buttons. It's the escape key. For some reason the controller prompts are outside of the screen. But as you can see, this works perfectly fine. It's in slow motion now, but that's normal. This is part of the tutorial. So we're playing on the Steam Deck OLED. Let me unplug the charger so you can see power usage. And so far, I'm not seeing any particular problem. Whoa. When it comes to the game itself, not sure if it has issues if it's above 30 FPS. I think the physics are not at 90 FPS, but it uses almost no resources. It's obvious it's a very old game at this point. Mind, if you never played this game, maybe check out the controls separately. One thing that you can do that is pretty cool is drink water. Yummy. What I do not remember how map is the dodge, but you usually just block. but it still holds up in my opinion, coming to being an old game. It's 6 hours of battery on the OLED. On the LCD it's more like probably 4 or 5 hours. And the rewind stuff, we'll get it in a bit, but this is just first impressions for you guys. So this being the first one in 3D, it has a really special place in my heart. Just because of the fact that, well, I played a lot of this, and Assassin's Creed exists thanks to this game. And, well, and the other ones in the franchise. There we go. That's what I was missing. Duh. And if you want even more battery life somehow, lock it to 60, but I think at 90 it's working okay. Great game. Highly recommended if you never played it, and you can play them in order. But after the widescreen fixes, as you can see, the entire screen is being utilized. We run at 90, the game looks great on the small screen. And battery life is very long, even at 90 Hz. I mean, the fan is not even on. Just think about that for a second. You can also super sample the game if you wanted to. I showed you how at the beginning. But it works perfectly fine. So let's jump into the next one. First order of business, like in the previous one, bring up the on-screen keyboard, Steam key plus X. Hit enter. There we go, now you have a profile. You only have to do this the first time. Open the options, go to the graphics, essentially 800p, highest settings. When it comes to basic effects, everything is like that. Perfect. Controls, this is important. In Gamepad, at least for me, it was already mapped by itself. Okay, the controller mappings are all messed up, so we're going to make them together as well. So the first issue I would say is that the menu is very difficult to traverse with a controller. So roll and jumping and all that, let's map it to the A key. Wall in, block, the right bumper, or the left bumper, no. Sword attack, X. Grab second weapon attack, let's put it on Y. Then pick up, throw, climb down, cancel, we're using B. And rewind and slow down, let's use the left bumper. And that should give us the closest to the previous game. Oh yeah, that's way better. Yeah, the ones by default were horrible for some reason. Okay, so now that the controls are fixed and mapped to the same as the previous game, basically, I can actually play the game. Since the music is disabled, many sounds are disabled as well. So the music is not only mapped to music, it's also mapped to basically other sound effects. So when you play the game, your music will be fine. The other issue is that the UI doesn't fit the screen properly, it's out of the screen. That's something I messed up in the INI file editing, which I fixed in post, so you're able to see which value to put. But the UI, once you put the correct number, it should fit just fine. Oh man, I forgot how to play this.
Try again.
But again, this game is fantastic. I highly recommend you give it a shot. Oops, I accidentally paused it. And as you can also see, the fire blinks. That's due to the frame rate. So if you're playing this at 30 FPS, the fire will be fixed, but that's an issue that we got playing at 90 or even 60. You notice that some effects will be sped up. The community is already working on this, somebody is trying, which is great to see. But as of right now, if you want the fire to actually look correct, you need to go down here and lock it to 30 FPS. So now, apart from the game being at 30, the fire is not sped up, basically. But if you don't care, you can play at 90. It looks smooth, but the fire isn't... It doesn't look correct. Not sure if it affects other things about the game. And here we're going to get one of the best parts, in my opinion. But man, the music in this part, it's so badass.
No time for this.
Let's go. Whee! Here comes the best transition in history. So now it's going to transition with a cutscene. But look at this. We're playing all nicely at 16:10 when suddenly a 4:3 a 4:3 cutscene shows up. Perfect transition. So yeah, that's a thing of this game being this old. But again, if the fire bothers you, lock it to 30 or 40, and you should be fine. Battery life over 5.5 hours easily. This is an older game. So yeah, no problem whatsoever. Let's grab this weapon. But man, what a franchise. This, again, the music in this one, it's absolutely fantastic. I wish this game got a remake actually, or a remaster. Only a remaster would be fine. So yeah, let's get into the next one. This one, I love it, highly recommended. You just need to, well, be aware that the fire doesn't work properly at 90. Okay, just like the previous ones, Steam key plus X. Put your name, now you have a profile. Let's go into options. Let's go to graphics, and okay, it says not set, but it's 800p. So don't touch this menu, please. On advanced graphics, we got, okay, as high as it goes. Let's put 2x anti-aliasing. Because we can do it, maybe even 4 times actually. Because these games don't have any post-process anti-aliasing, that didn't exist back then. Then when it comes to controls, everything is mapped, but I don't trust this, so let's try... Oh, okay. Okay, it's not properly mapped with the usual controls. So what I'm going to do is do the same as before. For block, swing, left bumper, dagger attack, we're going to use Y. Second weapon grab, B. Pick up, throw down, oh, my bad. B for pick up, throw, drop down. For speed kill, grab, and second weapon, should be Y actually. Don't remember which the, well, dagger attack is probably X. This is a normal sword. For rewinding, the left bumper. First person view, I don't usually use that. Reset camera, R3. Start key. Okay, the camera is correct. Okay, once you do that, go back, hit yes. Okay, so once you fix the sticks, let's climb.
The dockside tavern where he'd spent many late nights was now
Oops.
reduced to cinders.
Okay.
Babylon's proud armada.
And it looks
which would
fantastic on
often
the
come
smart
to
screen with
lay
4
cracked and
times
broken.
MSAA. It might be
Passed to the
hard to
bottom of
tell
the ladies.
with the camera footage, but in real life, it really does look fantastic. Again, remember that we're pointing a camera at the screen. It has limitations. But the deck is very wholly... yeah, it doesn't care that we're playing this game. It works fantastically well. There are some stutters here and there, but nothing major, I'd say.
But what of Babylon's guard? Where have they all gone?
And it really feels like it aged well when it comes to controls. This is where, well, basically where Assassin's Creed came from. So, oops. Alright, so we're getting ahead. And as you can see, apart from those minor stutters that happen here and there, It's completely fine when targeting 90s. I'm not sure if anything when it comes to logic in the game is affected. If it does, for some reason at some point you have issues, lower the frame limit to 60 or 30, or maybe 45, I don't know. But when it comes to battery life, it's basically on a full charge 5 hours. So yeah, I mean, no reason not to play it unless you don't want to deal with the fixes that I told you how to do step by step. It's not hard. Once you get that done, it's not an issue. It works completely fine. It's just mapping the controls and the widescreen support stuff. But you can play this completely fine. Again, this was a PlayStation 2 game, so it's a very old one. PC port wasn't great at all to begin with. But hey, here we are. If you have it on, I don't know, Steam or on Ubisoft Connect, shouldn't be an issue. Both are compatible with the mods. And I think there's a GOG version as well. But don't quote me on that. I think so, yeah. I don't know why there is a weird visual stuff at the bottom. There we go. Frick you. I think it's just a call-in issue. Oh, it's an old game. There we go. Yeah. Let's grab this. Yeah, maybe it's just water. Yep, it's water. Actually, the water has some issues. Interesting. So I don't know how to fix that. But at the moment, it's the first thing... the first graphical issue I ran into. Anyway, let's jump into the next one. Persia 2008. This is when they tried to redo the franchise, and well, they failed. 800p, widescreen, 2x MSAA, high settings and high resolution textures, and we launched the game. But that's where the options menu is. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the game to launch. Required basically no input from me, just when the launcher shows up, select the options that you want. Let's unplug the charger. So we see battery life. Again, this one is from 2008. Looks fantastic. It's hard to tell due to the camera that is focusing on the small pixels. But the game looks super sharp on the smaller screen. Colors are amazing. I mean, cel shaded stuff usually ages perfectly. Well, this is one of them. And what to say? Performance is solid, 90 FPS. Not sure if that causes any issues with the game itself. I've been playing it for a few hours and it was okay. But if you're interested in playing this one, it doesn't even require Uplay. It goes right away. At least I didn't have to log in. Whoops! Okay, she saved me. Fine. So I think visually it's very interesting, but it never ended up being the new thing.
I can't see anyone following. We should hurry.
So Ubisoft tried with this one, but right trigger, and you can use. Oh yeah, that's cool as hell. I love that you could use that claw just to go down. And also the gamepad is mapped by default, as it should be.
Well, if there's no gold, why is this place so secure?
It's the prison.
By the way, the guy that voiced Nathan Drake voices the prince on this one. So yeah, you'll feel like playing Uncharted at times. It's pretty funny. So how much battery should you expect from this one? More than 4.5 hours easily. But if you want it to be what's the name of this? If you want to be like over 5 hours, lock it to 60 FPS. Come on, attack me. There we go. So yeah, the combat is pretty weird, to say the least. It's more like a one-on-one comparison to the other ones that you could do multi-enemy combat. But personally, I don't know, I don't play a lot of it back in the day. I just played a few hours to see how it looked, and I didn't find it super interesting even back then. But what I don't like on this one, I like the traversal, but the combat doesn't really convince me a whole lot, so... But it's very easy to set up, just launch it, go to the settings, put 2x MSAA, and you'll be good to go. This one, the Forgotten Sands, well, I have it on Uplay as well, so make sure to choose this one if it asks you which one you want to play. And it will go through Uplay, maybe you need to log in, so keep that in mind. And apart from what I complained about just now, it doesn't have an options menu with the graphics. That's on the launcher. The launcher can be accessed in the game's main folder in desktop mode, but by default the game is already running on the native resolution of the Steam Deck. You'll see once you start playing the game, visually is way superior to the previous ones. Obviously, it came out much after all of those. I unplugged the charger, and well, as you'll notice when I'm playing, there's no gore, so now it's more of a kid-friendly thing. But don't worry, there are mods for gore in the in Nexus mods if you're interested. I'll probably recommend you you do that. You just go and download those mods that add gore. But the game itself, I like the gameplay. The combat is pretty smooth. You can also kick enemies. So yeah, it's a fun game. Nice platforming, nice combat, and you can ragdoll enemies out of the way. Battery life, completely fine, as you can see. It's like, yeah, more than 4.5 hours at 90 FPS. At 60, it's probably going to be into the 5-hour mark. But this one looks fantastic. It's impressive what they could pull off back then. I think this was a PlayStation 3 game. But I don't know, the shadow quality and the image quality in general, I think is fantastic. They did a great job with this one. And you can also wall run when you're already pinned to the wall. So you get all the classic wall run stuff. Classic. The only thing that is not classic is the atmosphere. It looks more cartoonish to me. I think that a movie was released at the same time. There was also a weird Wii version of this game that is completely different. But visually it really holds up. And on the OLED screen, man, it's fantastic. It's hard to tell with the camera pointing at the screen, but trust me, on the OLED this looks fantastic. And it's pretty sharp as well. It's just a shame that we cannot go into the options menu, but the options menu only contains resolution, widescreen, and MSAA, which by default is disabled, but you can go 2 or 4 times if you're interested. But even without MSAA, jaggies are not as noticeable. Maybe in the video they are, but when you're looking at the screen, it's completely fine. The good old days without TAA. For Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, unfortunately there's no 16:10. FPS limit is set to 90. High graphics, there's Ultra, but I don't think Ultra is necessary. SMAA and subtitles, and that's basically it. So let's start with the game. Welcome to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This one is more of a side-scrolling game, as you can probably notice. So far I've been playing it and it's fantastic. I'm showing you the intro because, well, it's a little bit more demanding than what you're used to. It's a Unity game. There's no Unreal or any Ubisoft proprietary technology. But I think for what it is, it's fantastic, visually speaking. Again, more of a cartoonish look to it in comparison to the Prince of Persia that I know, which is the classic edgy one from World Within. But this game runs fantastically well, which sometimes side-scrolling games don't have that benefit. It drops a bit below 90 when we're attacking and doing other things. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but if you want more battery, more than 3.5 hours, I highly recommend you lock it to 60, it'll be more stable as well. But this is even on Nintendo Switch. The only thing that really bothers me is that there's no 16:10. It's only 16:9. So in a new game, that shouldn't be a thing, in my opinion. But hey, what can you do? It is what it is. Let's continue. And again, as I was saying, it's also on Nintendo Switch, so it was supposed to be running just fine. You're basically not the prince itself. You are the guy the bodyguard, one of the bodyguards. So that's one of the things that disappointed me, that you're not the prince in this game. But hey, whatever Prince of Persia related is, I'll try it and give you my opinion, of course. But this one, there's nothing to worry about. Play it at 90 if you want 3 hours of battery, 3.5. If you want more than 4 hours, lock it to 60. It has some drops at times, but nothing that I would say makes it unplayable. But hey, I gotta say, it's badass. It's a great game if you like side-scrolling stuff. If you're interested, I'd say go for it. The only issue that I have with it, it's that apart from 16:10, is that it requires Uplay, so you have to log in the first time you play the game. So that's something to keep in mind. And finally, the Rogue Prince of Persia. This one is the latest one. It's on early access, thanks to the publisher for providing a code of the game. And this is from the people that created Dead Cells. You probably heard of that game. And if you're looking at this, you probably say, okay, this is basically Dead Cells. But this one, unfortunately, doesn't have 16:10. It goes up to 720 when it comes to resolution on the Steam Deck. It supports way higher resolutions, but no 16:10. And I unlock the frame rate, and you might say, okay, it's a 2D game, it should be super easy to run, and I agree. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. When you are basically into combat and you get into focus mode, that it's like you're not getting damage and you hit many enemies very quickly, the game can stutter and drop into the 50s. So this is one where I will lock the frame rate actually to 50, believe it or not. I asked around in the Steam forums and the developers said basically, okay, we're focusing on making content at the moment. The optimization is one of the last things. And well, that's true. Usually true. I trust them because they made Dead Cells, but at the same time it's pretty disappointing that it's hard to maintain over 60 at all times, especially when it matters the most, that is combat. As you can see at the moment it's fine, but it can get very hectic with the performance in certain sections. Especially again when you're in that focus mode that it increases the FOV a little bit. That can make the game drop into the 50s. So yeah, I'm playing with unlocked frame rates at the moment. I played this on a plane going to the US. I had a great time with this one. I still play it. But we gotta be honest when it comes to how performance feels like. Performance is okay until you get into more enemies on screen, that focus mode that is given to you when you start killing lots of enemies. So I think that's something to keep in mind. When stuff starts happening, that's when it starts dropping the most. When more enemies show up, more magic goes to the screen. So yeah, I love this game. Again, so far I was expecting the worst because the prince was purple, but they made an art update. And now the graphics are completely new. The art, basically. The backgrounds are completely remade. The prince now looks like an actual person instead of a purple or pink character that had nothing to do with Prince of Persia, in my opinion. So GG to the developers for doing that update. Again, it's early access, so I trust them to do performance improvements later on. I'll be revisiting this game because I'm playing it a lot, so good for them for listening to most people that were saying, dude, the prince is not pink. Well, they changed the art style. I think it looks more like a Prince of Persia game now. And the movement and all that and wall running, it's all there. It's a roguelike game. I usually don't like those types of games, but I don't know, this one is just hard to put down. The gameplay is fantastic. And well, on Steam Deck, as I said, unfortunately, here we go to the focus mode. The FOV increases, and as more stuff renders, you start getting drops, maybe even into the 50 FPS range with stutters. Hopefully they fix that in a future patch. I'm hopeful because they made games before, it's not their first rodeo. But when particles are there and all that, well, you can notice. So my advice is lock it to 50. So we go down here and lock it to 50. And once we put it on 50, you get a better time when it comes to stability. Again, most of the time it can be into the 60s if you lock it there. But there are points when it drops where I think it's very obvious, so I think they should fix that. And I'm sorry about the screen flickering, that's because I'm showing you something at 50 Hz and well, my camera records at 60 Hz, so the shutter speed doesn't match. That's basically why. So my advice is that you lock it to 50 and you should be good to go. Outside of that, hopefully, again, I'll revisit this once they release more patches and the game is out of early access, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit. They nailed it with the new art style, at least in my opinion. It looks more like one of the previous games, at least in my opinion. And again, if you're playing this on Steam Deck, just for stability purposes, lock it to 50 or put it at 60 and let it drop when shit hits the fan, to say it in some way. So, Prince of Persia, the entire franchise on Steam Deck, what to say? Well, the original games, the first 3 ones, require some work to work properly. So you need to do some config file tweaks with mods and all that. But I showed you everything here. What bothers me the most, I would say, is the gamepad support, that you have to map everything the first time. Once you do that, like I showed you in this video, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. Then when it comes to the newer ones, I really like the Rogue Prince of Persia. That one surprised me. Unfortunately, it's not 60s or 90s across the board, despite being a side-scrolling game that has lots of sprites, but it also has nice effects. So hopefully, at the end of early access, they do a performance patch or something like that. We'll see what happens. Then when it comes to the other Prince of Persia games that are not the first, second, and third one, they're fine. They work completely fine without any issues. I could just launch the games and they go right in. And on the newer one, the Forgotten Sands, the newer one, well, less than new one, you can do 90s just fine. The game looks fantastic on the smaller screen. And I think the Steam Deck is ideal for games from this era before, especially when the gamepad support is there and when it uses the entire screen. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. So nice visuals, long battery life, lots of nostalgia, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys, thanks for watching.